Hi, welcome to Testing with RK. In this session, we will be discussing methods. Methods is a block of code which only runs when it is called. They are a great way to avoid duplication in your code, and when it comes to the maintenance purpose or maintainability of your code, methods are a great way of organizing your code. We will understand them with the help of an example. Here is our scenario where we want to print the addition of two values. Okay, in our first example we have int x. I'll define two variables, int x, y, and the third actually x is equals to 10, y is equals to 20, and z is equals to x plus y, and we are going to print the value of z as the addition of those two. Think of another scenario where x is equals to 30. In fact, let me copy it. X is equals to 30, 40, and we want to print it again as well. And the same scenario again where the x values are different, 300, 400, and one more time. So here is our scenario. We have been asked to find the sum of two values and print them on the console, and in the four different scenarios I was given four different values of x and y, and this is a standard code to print them. Now as you can see, when I save, build and run, it will print it's building it, taking longer than I thought. Okay, so that's the console, and it has printed 30, 70, 700, which is correct. Okay, now as you can see, it has performed the scenarios that we wanted to do, but as you can see that there is a repetition of logic here, x, and in all these four scenarios we are basically doing the same logic, which is adding two numbers. What methods can do is methods can put the logic within themselves, and all this code can be put at one place and consumed again and again. Let's see that with an example. To define a method, to declare a method, we have to first say, to declare a method we have to first specify what is the return type, method name, and the parameters that are going to go in there. So the data type, we are going to discuss about them. Parameter 1, data type, param 2, data type, param m, n, as many as we want. Okay, and then code to execute. Oops, sorry. Okay, let's try to perform this particular thing with the help of a method. Okay, we will call our method as add. Okay, and the return type of our method is int. Okay, add, and I am going to define what value I will be passing every time to add. So int x, int y, and then we are going to say, oops, sorry, my bad, I've added it in the wrong place. It's in the here. Okay, so because that's inside the main method, main itself is another method, so the method has to sit in the right place. Okay, yeah, so we are going to say int z is equals to x plus y return z. So what is going to happen? Let's actually in fact call it sum. We will get our values. So in the first scenario we had 10 and 20, 10, 20. Okay, because it's static. Oh, sorry, add. We have add 10 and 20, add 20 and 40. Is that right? 30 and 40. Add 300, 400. Add 333, 444. Oh, sorry. Okay, so what this is going to do is what will happen is that when the controller comes here on the add part, it will jump here to this method. It will see what is the value up here, 10. It will load the value, it will load x with 10. It will see the next value and it will load the next parameter with that value, which is y is equals to 20. It will perform the addition here and it will return the value of x plus y, which is z, back up here. What we can do is we have to print it on the console. So to print, I am going to call from, in fact, let me do that. And console so that's gonna print the value on the console. Let's run this, save, build and run, and you could see the same value. So my point is that you would use methods whenever you see that you are applying the same logic again and again. You could put them in a method and you can consume it. Now whenever I want to add two numbers, I can call this method called add rather than writing this piece of code every time. You may ask, when would you use such concepts when you are when would you use such concept with respect to the test automation? While building your test automated scripts and test automation framework, you would notice that there are some processes that are very repetitive with respect to your own project. So you may want to write a piece of code that will capture the screenshots. You don't want to use the code every time. What you want to do is put that code in a method and you can simply call it every time. What we have done here is that we have simply told the method that what will be the return value of this particular method int, which is a return type. That's why we are returning z, and what is the value that this particular method will be accepting. You will hear two words called parameters and arguments. What they are is that anything that goes inside your methods as a variable, they are parameters. The value that are supplied to the method are arguments. So in our example, the parameters are x and y, whereas the arguments are 10, 20, 30, 40, 300, 400, and 333, and 444. Okay. We have further, so this is the basic method. Okay, now imagine a scenario where we want to add more than two numbers. So for example, we want to add 4 numbers or 3 numbers. We are uncertain about it. And when I pass the value up here, I would get an error saying that this particular method only no overload from method takes 3 arguments. Basically what it's saying is that your method add can only take 2 parameters, and what I have done is I have supplied a new value. If I only give one argument, then it will also raise an error saying that there's no argument given in the, so basically it's saying that you have said there are two parameters but you have supplied only one argument, so it will raise an error. What about our scenario where we want to add 3 numbers, 4 numbers or 5 numbers and range from any value to any value? What we can do is we can make use of a concept called default parameters. What it means is that in the method declaration we can define another parameter saying a, and we can say the value of a is 0. Now what will happen is that when I call the method add, it will come here, it will check 10, it will check for y as 20, and it will check if we have supplied any new argument. If there is no argument, what it will do is it will automatically set the value of a to be 0. Okay, so I can use the same method to add 3 numbers. So for example, if I was to perform the same operation and say 10, 20 and 30, that is still valid, and all I have to do here is change a little bit of code and say a. So as you would see, if nothing is supplied, a will automatically be 0. So if you save, build and run, the bottom one should be 60. That's right. Okay, so that's default parameters. When would you use default parameters? Imagine a scenario when you are running your automation scripts. You want to define somewhere in your method that by default the browser is always Chrome. You can set a default parameter that your browser is Chrome and it will always run test in the Chrome even if the user hasn't supplied which browser it needs to run on, and we will see that in greater detail when we start our Selenium with C# sessions. Okay, so that's the default parameter. But now wait, we are using only add method to add integer values. What about adding float values, decimal values, or adding string variables? So to do that, let's try to understand with that another example. Okay, so I have double, I will call q, in fact a 1.1, hang on, in fact I can copy the same thing here. Now what we are going to do is we are going to define another now I want to add two fractional values, and we know that the fractional values are of type double or float, and as I can see straight away it is complaining about the arguments and it is saying that it cannot change the double to int. Basically what we have said is in the definition of the method we have defined that the value of the parameters will be integer, but when passing the arguments we are passing a value which are not integer, so basically the compiler is throwing those error. But we want to have a method, same method, to add the float values as well. What we can do in that instance is we are going to define another method called add, but we are going to say its return type is float. The first, oops, sorry, not float, double, and double. Okay, so and return Z. Okay, what we have done here is the same method add now will be adding two fractional values, double values. Okay, basically what we have done is we have defined a method called add, which has the capability of adding integer values and the fractional values. But to do that, we have to define the add method again and tell it that the return type will be double and the parameters that will be going in this will be double as well. And this is called as method overloading. Basically, we are overloading the same method with multiple parameters. If I define the same method again, I will get the error saying that this method is already defined. But if we add another argument, that error will be gone. Basically, you can overload methods by int xz 20. Okay, so basically what method overload means is that it is overloading, it is writing the same method again and again with various parameters or return type. Now if we perform the addition, if we build and run, we will say it will display the value of that fractional. So we are using the same method name, but the arguments that we have supplied is of fractional value. What if we were to add two strings? So same again, I'm going to change the return type from double to string, and I am not going to have the third argument. I am saying I will always add to string only, and return type is Z. Okay, so console write line, and we will say add welcome to automation. Okay, so save, build and run. Welcome to the world of automation. It has added these two strings by type. So the takeaway from methods is that methods are a great way to organize your code. It is a great way to reuse the existing piece of code. From a maintenance perspective, if you ever were to change the logic of your code, you have to apply it only at one single place where your method is being defined, and it will be consumed by every other code that is using this particular method. Okay, so that's the methods. What we are going to do now is just to recap everything, I have got a couple of questions that we will try to answer just to recap that what we have learned. The first one is create a method named myMethod and call it inside main. So basically I want you to fill in the blanks. Okay, and pause the video, write your answer, and when you're ready, play it again. And the answer is static void myMethod console.writeLine. So basically myMethod is a method outside your main. What we are doing is to call that method, we have to declare that method name, and it will execute everything that is within that particular method. Add a fname parameter of type string to myMethod. So basically this is the method called myMethod. I want you to add a parameter named fname, okay, which will be consumed by your main method. Okay, so main method Liam, Jenny and Anja. Pause the video, write your answer, when you're ready, play it again. And the answer is static void myMethod string fname plus that value. So basically string fname. Remember to define your parameters within method is data type and your parameter. Okay, so that's it for method, guys. Please practice it. Thank you very much for joining with me on this session, and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.